All right, so today's video is going to be a very interesting one. It's been a while since I've done a one-on-one interview chat with somebody, and this was very much worth the wait. I finally got to have a one-on-one conversation with my Texas representation, one of my agents, Erik Sheppard, who has been doing this for a very, very long time. Almost as long as I've been alive, he has been working in the industry. And because a lot of my videos, a lot of my topics are on more of the indie, independent, or kind of the transitional period voiceover, I wanted to actually get someone who has been working as an agent and has worked in Hollywood and has done a lot of stuff long before things like Fiverr and Voices.com even existed. So, you know, he's got more information on the industry and the more professional, the more Hollywood side. And it was a lot of fun to actually get to kind of talk to him on that. There was a lot of topics that we didn't get to cover. So leave any of those questions down below and hopefully we'll be able to get him back and maybe even do a live stream to ask him those questions. But any links to his social media, to his YouTube channel, which he is also very well known for. It's called The Outspoken. That will be in the description, as well as his agency website, the Sheppard Agency. The link to that will be down in the description, as well as a couple other things that he and I talk about. Any links to stuff like that will be down in the description as well. So, yeah, without further ado, here's Erik Sheppard, and enjoy.
Set up upstairs, you know, but I've been using the iPhone down here.
Okay. Like just for like just the Zoom stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You know, and I was like, oh, this would be easy. I'll just plug it in, you know, instead of having all, you know, fucking tripods and stuff, you know.
The full film setup just to do interviews and
for, you know, Zoom. So I was like, you know, this is pretty cool. But I always look like a dang tomato. Like I'm not this red in person. And it's every time. And there's no way to like de-red, you know, unless you like go through like OBS and color correct and all that, which I'm not doing that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. One more thing to break, you know? So I'm like,
iPhone is notorious for like doing a whole bunch of like auto correction that we didn't ask for. It's like, oh, we'll go ahead and make you beautiful. That makes me look horrible. So please stop. I
mean, it's a rad feature because like all, you know, webcams suck, man. They're terrible, you know? So I was like, all right, well, this is better. And I mean, it looks good. It's just, I always look like I have a sunburn.
I hear you. I always have to, like, anytime I bring up the contrast on any of my, it's just like all of my blemishes just like look like spotlights. And I'm like, God damn it. Wow. I looked fine when I was in gray tone and sepia tone, but then I just turned it off and just.
Let's like, bring back sepia.
Sepia is nice. All right. Like I said, I'm going to have an intro to explain everything and have all of your links because there's a lot of credits for you to go down, and that would use up probably the entire 30 minutes just to talk about who you are and where you've been. But we are going to cover some of it. You've been doing this for how long?
30 years, man.
30 years. Yeah. So you've been doing voice acting and working in the industry before most people who are probably working in the industry right now. We're even in diapers.
I've been doing this before most people were alive. Yes.
I was probably around the age. I was probably close to the age that I first got on stage. When I started, I got on stage when I was like 6 years old. And that's when I was like, I love acting. I want to keep doing this. So I've been doing acting for like almost like 26, 28 years, something like that.
Wow.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I got into voice acting not that long ago when I needed to make a little bit extra money, which...
Poor choice.
Yeah. It was a terrible decision. It was very stressful. And someone was like, you should do voice acting. And I couldn't get an agent. I was not ready for an agent, obviously. And back when I started voice acting was like 14 years ago. And I was totally not ready. But I think I started doing things like like ringtones for like people's like phone. That was actually the first thing I ever did voiceover for. You remember like the Nokia flip phone and the Razor?
Oh, yeah.
There would be a website that you had to like go and like text a number, and then they would send you would download something. I did a whole bunch of like celebrity impression like ringtones and stuff like that.
Yeah, they
on
were
that
all
website.
like wacky kind of things.
Yeah,
right?
they were like, it could be like Al Pacino's like, it could be a tax collector or it could be a mother. Take a chance, answer your phone, like that kind of stuff. Answer your phone, do it, come on. That's how I started.
Oh my God, for like 99 cents.
Yes, exactly. Terrible stuff. But then I eventually, found various different websites. Had a few friends in LA giving me some advice. They're like, you're not ready to like join the union or move up here or do anything like that. And they're like, but try like the websites like voices.com, voice123, which I do not.
Don't get on the bus, Tim.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what level of advice that was. But I did, I think, when I first started, the first thing, like not long after getting on like voices.com, and this was before they charged like hundreds of dollars, and this is before everyone was piling on it. I think I did Daffy Duck for College Humor, and it was an actual union thing. So it was an actual like first union credit. Like that was like one of the first things. I think it was the second thing. I think the first thing was like a point and click adventure game, and then after that it was the Daffy Duck, and I was like, I need to take this shit seriously.
College Humor was massive back in the day.
And now here's the thing. They didn't end up using it.
Oh,
they didn't even do that.
Floor,
so I
man.
couldn't even count that as my first credit. It was brutal. But it was great. Like I loved it. But that was like my wake-up call to like really take it seriously. Yeah. So I've been on like the online indie side for a very, very long time. And I think only in the past like 6 years have I been more in like the more industry, or what we would describe as the industry side. And so most of my information that I share on my YouTube channel is on the indie side, but I do want to transition most of my viewers from the indie side to where most of the actual money is made and where the better work, where you're not being taken advantage of, is. And so that's kind of what I'd like to more or less cover.
Okay. Look, I didn't do any research, so I've done it, a zillion of these, man. And the way I always do them, and it's not out of because I don't want to prepare. It's I love to just talk, man. I think it's always,
stream of consciousness.
Yeah, it comes. It's not like I have any shortage of dumb opinions on this business.
I mean, you've been doing this for a while, so surely you have some things that you could say that's just natural.
Well, and I'm an opinionated bastard to begin with, so I mean, it's not like I'm going to get stumped, and it just makes it more fun, Otherwise, a lot of these times, they send you, here's a list of first we're going to say, we're going to ask this question, and you could write down your response, and like fucking shoot me, man. No one's going to want to listen to this. It's boring, Let's just have a conversation, and it's more, tell some jokes and have fun. It's better that way.
I used to try to structure interviews, and they were always terrible. They were always terrible because it would always like derail, and then I'd struggle to try to get back on topic. And so now I'm just like, all right, here's kind of the things I want to cover, and if we do or don't, it's fine.
I don't even watch, and this is like obviously just a personal thing, man.
Yeah.
But I don't even watch late night TV like I have a massive respect for the old guard, Carson and Letterman and stuff. But they're so formulaic. It's just so silly, and it's like, so tell me, what have you been up to? And then it's like the setup, that's so, like, so here you got a dog, huh? Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then they do their dog shtick, and then it's like, so what do you think, any plans for the 4th? And then they got their little,
Right. And then they do their drunken karaoke battle after the commercial.
But at least that's a little dip, I don't know. Yeah. Just that whole pre-whatever thing is gross.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what you want to talk about. We'll talk about whatever, man.
Yeah. Well, most of it was because I've watched a lot of your videos. Very familiar with your channel. Which when I was like just spamming, doing the agency packet spamming, and then I finally got your email going, yeah, I'd love to represent you. And then I was like looking at the name, I was like, why does that sound familiar? And then I like Googled and I was like, oh, son of a bitch, it's that guy.
Man, I used to have fun doing those. It was like cathartic and, but you know, it was a little bit of work.
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't have time for this shit, you know? So I'd be like, wait for like the kids would go to bed and I'd be doing a thing or trying to work something out and like editing and stuff. Like, you know, it was a thing. It's not like I was going to check, you know?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
But I was like, well, let me try. It just pissed me off that there were these people that were making money to answering some of these questions.
Right.
And I was like, fuck them. I'll answer the same question for free. I'll disrupt the whole scene, you know?
throw a wrench in, be the rock star of the YouTube answering
and like
questions.
There's nothing wrong with charging for like, you know, voiceover business advice, like if it's the real deal or whatever, that's fine. But it was like, I don't know, I come across some and it was like, for $50, I'll tell you like how to whatever, you know, some nonsense like anybody. So I was like, fuck, give me your questions, I'll just tell you for free. And that'll be like my good deed, you know? Yeah. So it was always like trying to get good information out to help talent and to help the industry and whatever. Right. And I got it. And all I got back were fucking trolls, man. Oh my God. Like douchebags and be like, fuck you, grandpa. I do it for $5, man. Whatever. And it was like all this like trolling nonsense. And I was, you know, be like, well, I didn't like the way that you said this and whatever. Right. What do you want, a refund? Like, you know.
For your free video? You want to get that time back? I'm sorry.
Don't watch. Like, you know, I don't know, man. You know, it wasn't like I ever put out anything that was incorrect, you know? Right. And I mean, of course, there were some opinions but my opinions are fact anyway. So I was just like, forget it. Like, I lost the desire to do it because I'm like, why am I going to like expend energy on this thing? Right. To try whatever. And then the same thing happened on social media too. You know, I'd be like, say some shit on, you know, Facebook or whatever, because I'm like 1,000 years old, you know, but everybody seemed to be on Facebook and to be like, oh, like try to tell a story just for talent's sake. Like, so talent would be like, oh shit, like, you know, because they don't know. How would they know? They don't know what I deal with every day because, you know, I wouldn't know. I didn't know when I was a talent, like I became an agent. I was like, oh shit, this really? Oh my God, I wish I would have known this stuff. Right. This big, so it was like, let me share some laundry of this list. Stuff. Yeah, and then people would be pricks about it, start arguing and calling each other Nazis and all crazy shit, you know, because it's like the internet. And I was like, forget it, I'm out. Yeah. I'm out. I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah, I don't. So this stuff is nice. It's fun to be able to, you know, bullshit a little bit, and then whatever. If anybody trolls, and you deal with them. I'm not reading them.
Yeah, I have gotten to the point where I have fun messing with trolls. Like for example, like my most common people's most common like gripe is that I talk too much and it's not edited and it's just nonstop. Like it's for like 20 minutes. I'm like, this video was too long.
Like we're on voiceover. Of course we talk a lot.
Yeah. And so my favorite thing is to just write like a soliloquy response, like just the longest response that would take them an equal amount of time to read. And then at the end, I'd put TLDR, sorry, bro. Like that, I'd put that. And it's my favorite thing to like just comment. It's just like, I am to whom it may concern.
They're shit. I don't understand, man. Obviously, like I'm 1,000 years old, but like I'm from a time where if you said some shit like that, you would get hit. Right. Somebody would hit you in the nose. Right. So you didn't say shit like that because, like that was, was dangerous to just be like, and people just randomly talk shit.
Right. You popped off at the mouth, got popped in the mouth. Like that was the
like
rule.
You've obviously never been hit before and it shows you.
Oh, it really resets the brain. It really factory resets the brain the first time you get hit.
And not that I, advocate but like sometimes, you go, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be spouting my, mouth off. But that doesn't happen anymore. So everybody spouts that nonsense. And they're all mean to each other and cruel. And I'm like, forget it. I'm done with this internet. I don't like these internets.
Yeah, which is exactly like, I think that's one of like the main problems that I think I have with, because there is this like weird divide between the industry and indie as far as voiceover. And you'll see in like Facebook groups, which I stopped being a part of Facebook groups as far as like voiceover. Like there'll be like this argument as to like who's right and it's like there'll be like the indie side and there'll be the industry side. I'm like, you're on the same team. Everyone who's indie is trying to get to industry and like
everybody argues about everything and everybody feels like they're an expert, which is outrageous. Yeah. And then I would start seeing this years ago. That's when I would be like, like you'd be, this is before it was like 4 billion groups, but there'd be somebody and they'd be like, typical, like, I love voiceover and I'm great, whatever. What microphone is the best microphone to get? And then somebody would be like, oh, you have to get the Blue Yeti. It's the best microphone. Everybody knows that, you dumb fuck. And then they'd be like, oh, wow, great, thank you. And then like 2 minutes later, on somewhere else, somebody would be like, oh, the voiceover, what's the best microphone to get? And then that person would be like, well, obviously the Blue Yeti, I know because I'm a like, just re-spouting the same nonsense.
Copy and paste.
So everybody's just telling each other this false nonsense. And then they get a tiny little bit of information, and then they spew that same information back out in the world. And then 4 minutes later, they're like, I'm going to be a coach.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, my God. What are you people talking about, man? Oh, my God.
I stopped, like, that was one of the things, because I wanted to, like, help people, but anytime, like, because they would be like, oh, what microphone? I'd be, what kind of recording space do you have? Because if you get a great microphone, it's gonna sound like shit if your recording space is shit.
Yeah.
And so I try to, like, get a little bit more information. Also, it's like, what kind of voice do you have? If you have a really deep voice, you don't want to, like, a bassier mic, because then it's just going to be like rumbling speakers off the wall. I was like,
if you tell somebody they have to tune their space, they get freaking angry.
Yeah, and people would go, like, insane. They were like, well, I didn't want all this information. I wanted you to just give me, like, a simple answer. I was like, there is no simple answer, you dumb, stupid bastard. It's not that easy. No. If it was that easy, it wouldn't be called work.
No, everybody it's at some point they're all, they'll move on to something else. And, everybody wanted to sell houses for a while. Everybody was going to have an MLM or whatever. And then they realized this is not for everybody.
Right.
And then AI is going to eat the other half of it, and we're all fine.
AI is going to eat all of our lunch. For a while, there was like pretty much everybody wanted to be like an actor or a stand-up comedian, or pretty much everyone that I knew wanted to be.
Now all the voiceover people want to do mocap.
Yeah. And then next thing, I don't know what the next thing is going to be. It's probably just going to be like, I just want to twerk on TikTok. That's probably going to be the next thing. I'm just be a professional twerker on professional TikTok person.
Everyone's going to go from voiceover to like OnlyFans. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if we're looking at the economy, like, it's sure eventually we will get there.
I'm not making much off my OnlyFans, so I guess I'm going to stick around. Sadly, it hasn't taken off like I'd hoped.
The number one comment: take your shirt off. You take your shirt off, and then this video
ends. And put it on. Put it all on.
You start off naked, and then people pay you to get dressed. I think I think you just made your first $1 million.
Have some decency.
For the love of God. Yeah, exactly.
Put that away.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, that's a genius idea, by the way. That's a genius idea.
OkayFans.com coming
in. Speaking of AI, which I know is on a lot of people, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, AI is replacing all kinds of stuff. AI replaces, you go to like self-serve checkouts. That's essentially like, some level of AI nowadays. And there's like various other things. Like, I'm not too worried about it because, like, we still have people who do carpentry and blacksmithing. So the people that are and people will pay top dollar to still have those people work for them. So like, and people are still like doing painting and craft, even though there's easier ways of doing stuff. Something being done by a person, by an artist, is still going to stay, even if the number gets fewer. So I'm not too worried about it, especially considering the majority of the people that are going to get replaced are going to be like the people that are going to be like impossible to get, and AI is going to try to like compete with those people. And which is really where the big problem is. Like, people like trying to like mimic celebrity voices, and then trying to like put them in like illegal videos. That's where it's happening. It's not something that's really happening to me, but I do think it will become a problem.
What worries me is the opposite, is the small stuff. I know millions of folks who are, let's face it, we're not doing 3 national commercials a day. So a lot of folks, they have their big commercial they're doing that week, and they have, maybe they're on a series or something like that. But a lot of folks are doing little, explainers and corporate kind of stuff and
Right,
whatever.
right.
And
Gotcha,
that
gotcha.
stuff,
Yeah.
pays the bills. As an agency, we do a ton of that stuff, man. And talent have asked me before, they're like, these things are like $400 or $500. Why even, why do you bother with this stuff? I go, because we do like volume, man. We do a ton of these.
Yeah, it's a crap ton.
They're easy. They're in and out. There's usually no audition. It's like, whatever. They just quick turn around. And then, each company is getting invoiced for, 20 or 30 of these, man. It keeps the lights on. And so there's a lot of towns that, need that stuff.
Okay, that's fair.
That's what fills up their day. And that kind of stuff, I think, is going to be, the first to go.
Okay, have you been seeing a lot of that?
Actor, and you can't replace an actor, and and like nobody gives a shit, bro. Like on some of that stuff, they're going to want it to sound real, and it's like 95% there. And once once it gets a little better, which is like, it's not going to be like, well, years down the road, like this is going to be like this year, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to hear the difference. And then I think a lot of people are going to be like, I don't want to. Whatever. Now I got to deal with the session, and I got to direct this guy, and I got to blah, 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 whatever. I'm just going to put in my stuff, and it's going to spit it out, and it's going to be cheaper. And then I'm just going to use that as my, corporate explainer. And that's that. Okay. That I think is the dangerous part. That's the part where I think a lot of people are going to feel it and go, oh no,
Gotcha. Okay. So things like the audiobooks, telephony, like phone messaging.
Yeah. Telephony, and people are like, oh, well, like my wife was like, she's the same way. She's like, well, there's that type stuff. And then there's like acting, so, it's not going to come for like video games or whatever. I'm like, freaking think like every NPC that people are, so excited to do whatever, all that stuff will wind up being replaced. They're not going to, they need somebody to, do that, pay them $2,000 to do that for a few hours. They're not going to need that. They'll just do it all AI. It'll all be in-house, and then you add all that stuff up. Yeah, that's, now all of a sudden people aren't paying the bills. Okay. There's been so many sea changes where it knocked, people out of the business. The first big one in my, millions of years in the industry was, like I always say, like I come from when the announcers roamed the earth. Like everything was like, big and
the radio
ridiculous.
Guy. Yeah.
And then it became very conversational, and it was like overnight everybody was like convo, oh my god, and everybody was conversational, and most people couldn't do it, man. Everybody got in a voiceover because they had a nice voice. That was that was how you got in. You went into radio or some folks went into voiceover, but nobody knew what voiceover was. Like it was a weird niche thing back in the day. And it was folks that had a nice voice. That's who got into voiceover. And then all of a sudden they wanted you to sound like the guy next door and be, real and believable. They didn't change the copy. The copy was still, real selly, ridiculous, new Tide with bleach. But now they want you to be like, new Tide with bleach is freaking, whatever. Yeah. And that knocked a zillion people out, man. Dudes especially were like, they just couldn't do it. They couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't adapt.
I absolutely still struggle with like that kind of like commercial narration where it's like huge run-on sentences of just like what you basically read off the back of like a cereal box. But then they're like, we want you to say this like you'd say this to a friend. And I'm like, I would never say this to a friend.
Yeah, no, they'd lock me up because this copy's nuts.
Unless I never wanted to talk to that friend. When
there's too much copy and they want you to talk like they fit it all.
We need all of this condensed and within 10 seconds. It's 500 words. Well, see what you can do with that.
Yeah, but in talent, which is like an aside, but talent sometimes like to do that in the audition. And they're like, well, let me try to, I know that let me read fast and let me do this and whatever. I'm like, no. Give them a good read. Yeah. And then let them ruin it after they've cast you. Like if they want to destroy it with having, it being copy rich or being too goofy or whatever, or stiff copy, let them hire you, and then they can do whatever they want. Like it doesn't have to be a great spot; it could be an awful spot.
That has genuinely that exact same thing has genuinely happened to me. And I was like, "Can we just use the audition? That sounded way better."
If they don't ask you to read it, to keep your read in 15, take 30 if you need it. Give them a good read. Let them know you can act, and then they'll hire you, and then they'll speed you up later. But anyway, so that was like tough, and it hurt a lot of people. And then all of a sudden, it was like the great expansion. And there was so many different factors. Like there was first of all, again, like back in the day, like we used to go to, there was conventions and stuff like 100 years ago. We'd all be at a hotel, and it was like, it was all of us. Like that was everybody. You'd like fit in a thing, and everybody would be like, "Oh, everybody." That was like the mantra, everybody.
There was one like great mecca of voiceover, and everyone fit in the building.
Yeah, or it was even weird when you would meet up. People would be like, "Are we allowed to do this?" Like, you would only
don't let anyone know there's two of us.
You were in studio,
Right? Yeah.
But there was just so fewer people, and everybody tried to help each other, and everybody was very cool and whatever. And there wasn't a lot of, ego and whatever. And it was great. And everybody said, everybody's just so nice. Everybody's so nice. Yes, I know. Everybody's so nice. What's your favorite part of voiceover? Everybody's so nice, whatever. But then all of a sudden there's 5 zillion people. Not everybody can be nice when there's 5 zillion people. Like that one guy's going to be a dick. It happens every time, There was just too many people. There was too many talent. And then they became coaches, and then they started telling everybody, hey, listen, you want to make a quick buck?
Yeah.
And this business is the worst get-rich-quick scheme on the face of the earth. And they knew that. Because
someone who's not making any money off
they wouldn't have gotten into coaching. So they get into coaching, and then all of a sudden they bring in 5 billion people. And then at the same time, the technology got way, way, way cheaper. You used to have to remortgage your house, man. You had racks of gear and all kinds of compressors,
the daisy chain system.
And,
get
this
a new
stuff
phone
was expensive.
line.
Now all of a sudden you could buy this stuff. People knew what was going on, and then the damn pay-to-plays came in, man. And then that was really big. Now it was like, so you could one day just wake up and decide, I have a nice voice. I'm going to try voiceover. Go to Guitar Center and buy a USB microphone for $100. Come home, sign up for voices.com, and all of a sudden you're a professional voiceover talent. Overnight, you put out your shingle, and that's it. And there's you and 5 zillion other idiots competing, for the same stuff. And so, you all suck because you just got there.
Yeah.
What do? Well,
I will absolutely admit that we all suck.
I'll read that thing for 400. No, I'll read it for 300. I'll read it for 200.
And there it is. Yeah. And then it just keeps going. And it just keeps going.
So, and at least we had the union that was kind of helping and holding stuff together. When it got to a certain echelon, and then the union was just like, screw you guys. They didn't care anymore. They just walked away basically from voiceover talent. So everything went non-union.
Is that what happened?
I just turned down like 2 days ago a goddamn Pepsi campaign, Pepsi Cola, all usage. They wanted like 2 years or something ridiculous. Originally, they wanted to pay $2,000, 500 session and 1,500 usage. All versions, $2,000. Pepsi freaking Cola, non-union. I told the union like 5 years ago, Pepsi's going non-union, guys. Oh, blah, 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 whatever. They don't care. They don't care. $2,000 for an entire campaign.
My God. It's not even like a startup company or
radio, whatever.
Yeah.
Point
International.
of purchase on the moon, the whole 9 yards. $2,000. Oh my God. Are you Pepsi Cola? So you have the biggest
soda company.
Yeah. What am I looking for? Category. Like the category, it's because now you got a conflict too. Like you can't do Coke if they come knocking. So you have a massive category that you're knocked out for. But what they did is, and I'm not saying that this specific company did it, because there was another specific company that did it. But this was another thing that was a huge nail in the coffin for voiceover. They said, all right, now that we've destroyed the rates and they're as low as could possibly be, how do we screw voiceover talent even more? And voiceover talent just lined up around the block. Yes, please, screw me. I love it. More, hit me. Oh, because voiceover talent was massive.
Yes, Pepsi Daddy.
In the entire universe. So these geniuses said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to bury this on like page 3 of the contract that voiceover talent don't read because they're actors and they can't read. So we're going to say all lifts, cuts, edits, versions. So we're going to pay them like, this should pay whatever, $50,000, $80,000, but it's not. It's going to pay like friggin' $2,000. And then we're going to include all versions. So not only are we not paying them what we should pay them for the spot, but we're going to make an entire campaign and now we're going to pay them the same
full
amount of
rights
money.
Indefinitely on wherever we feel like placing it. Yeah,
exactly. And now we have a whole campaign for peanuts, peanuts. And then when people go, guys, we like, I got a mortgage and stuff, we got to quit taking this stuff. Then you get 400 people on, on social media. You go, yeah, shut up, whatever, boomer. I don't care. I'll do it for $20. Fuck you, buddy. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Okay. So what do? Who knows?
That really is like the big question, because we are in like a huge, well, I think we've been in like a huge transition period for like 10 years.
Which we've been transitioning to not having an industry is what we were transitioning into. Everybody gave their money away. Nobody thought about tomorrow. They thought about today.
Yeah.
But they didn't realize when you take a rate, even if there was nobody else in the industry, forget everybody else. I get it. You don't care about the industry. You don't care about whatever. You care about numero uno. Great. And you say, I'm going to be like the Walmart of whatever. I'm just going to do it cheaper, and that's how I'm going to set myself apart. Okay. No problem. But you don't realize when you say, okay, well, this should be $1,000. I'll do it for 500. And then they say, how about 4? And you say, okay, I'll do it for 400. That's the rate now. That's your rate. When they come back tomorrow, if they come back, which is what everybody, talent are hoping to have a repeat customer. Everybody wants a repeat customer.
That's the goal.
You could lose a job. Everybody loses jobs. We lose jobs every day. You audition for something. As an agent, we send stuff in and they don't pick one of our people. We operate basically the same as, talent. You put stuff out and you hope that it sticks. That's it. So we lose jobs all the time. But when you lose a client, that's, when it's tough. So the best thing you could hope for is a repeat client, but now you have a repeat client who you have trained to give you as little as humanly possible.
Right.
Fabulous,
Yes. And how much of this do you think is the product of basically supply and demand in the voiceover industry? Now that there's 7 billion people on the planet, and I think it's 8 billion people are voice actors.
Exactly. Well, that's a problem. There's it's just a huge glut in the market.
Yeah. And so I think one of the problems, and this is something that I've been like advocating for a long time, and like I'm constantly like preaching about, is people like increase your rates, like, for the love of God. And I think one of the main problems is we have like the union rates. Like, we have a rate sheet, which I have on hand like at all times, and everyone should get a copy. And like that's the union. But that, from what I've seen, that's like 10% of what the actual voiceover jobs are. 90% is like the indie side, like stuff that's not, it's like small video games made by one person, or it's like small animations. And I think people don't understand that there is a point when like that's those rates, maybe, but then if you're anything bigger than that, that's the union rates, pretty much, right?
Well, it depends. Sometimes scale isn't great.
Okay.
There's stuff that's, there's low budget digital waiver nonsense. So it's, they come in and, it's only a web thing or whatever. And it's like, so who's it for? Like the dog groomer down the road? Well, Nabisco. Really? Because, crackers are out of style. Give me a break.
Is there a section of like the rate sheet for things that wouldn't be union? Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is,
like a non-union rate card.
Yes, a non-union rate card. Okay.
Yeah, go to GVAA, posts theirs. Which is great.
So that one you approve of that one. Like that one's like, that's on par.
I do.
Okay.
I do. There, that is kind of like you could kind of point to that as like, scale for non-union. That's standard. Okay. But I don't recommend that talent use a card. They should use one themselves. They should have one. They should have the union card. They should have the GVA card. Right. They should have cards that they, refer to. I refer to stuff internally, but don't publish that stuff. Don't put it on your, on your page or anything, or say, this is, these are my rates. This is my card or whatever, because somebody is always going to get screwed, and it could be you. Right. If you, oftentimes a client is they already have the budget and they're looking at way more. So if they go to your website,
yes,
and, you're posting way less for a certain usage. Well, now you've kind of screwed yourself, and you might be high on certain stuff just because you're incorrect as far as what they're paying, or there's extenuating circumstances, and there's always extenuating circumstances. There's volume. There's it's a regional market. Usually you think of kind of local, regional, and national as far as markets, or global. So you can say, well, it's regional, but it's all like it's flyover. Like there's not even a Dallas or a Phoenix or something in there. These are very small little areas, and so you want to take that into consideration when you're pricing it out.
Right.
Maybe you dealt with this client before and they're great. They pay in 2 days. They're nice and easy. Session is great. Or you dealt with this client and they suck, man. You're going to be there for 4 hours to bang out this 30. And then you decide, well, you know what? It's actually got to be a little bit more, or, whatever. There's so many different factors into, having a price that's fair and makes everybody happy. So to just be locked into, here's my card and I'm married to it, is dangerous. You could wind up, you could either screw yourself because they would pay more, or you screw yourself because you're inadvertently screwing the client.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I would agree.
Hold on. I don't know if I still have it. Let me see. Hold on. I'm checking something.
But I think that is one of the things that I've noticed, is that a lot of people are kind of just making up their own rates. Like people that are like in the indie, who've never like had like professional coaching, who don't have agents, they're just basically making their own rates, and they have no idea what things should cost. And even if it's just like a benchmark or some kind of like reference sheet, that would help out a lot. So
listen to this. Here we go. An exclusive for your viewers only.
Cool.
Yo, for real. Go to voratecard.com.
Perfect. Okay.
voratecard.com, and you'll go to our card, which we don't really link to or publish, but it's like we have it for clients that are totally lost. And it's like a Cliff's Notes dumbed down version based on GVA rates, but kind of simplified. So it's, you could just kind of take a look and, and quickly see what, standard rates are. Again, don't be married to it or whatever, but that card that we put together is very, it's super concise, and, bookmark it if you want to take a look. Okay. And that changes too.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely going to be including that in the link as well, for people to know. 'Cause I think that is one of the biggest problems, is people not having like a cornerstone to work off of as far as like their rates. And I think even when it comes to AI, probably the major problem is inconsistent and way too low rates. People, trying to compete and undercutting each other, and then, people having no idea what things are supposed to cost, that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's going to solve the AI problem. What would you think is something that we could do to try to combat that?
Nothing. We're screwed. I mean, okay. It's far. I was having this discussion with my wife the other day. There are folks, and people could definitely have a different opinion than me on this one, but that are pushing this contract verbiage. So they want to say, here's contract verbiage. Make sure that the client adds it to the end of the contract, and basically it says you can't sell my stuff for AI, which is well-meaning, and on the surface there's no problem with that. Okay. But I don't think it has. So anyway, she's telling me a story about a talent who the client wouldn't accept this. They wouldn't put it on the contract, add this to the contract, and so they walked on the job. So they left money behind. Otherwise, the job was fine. But he said, we want you to add this. You're not going to sell it to an AI company at the end or whatever. And they said, we can't change it. It's boilerplate, whatever the story is. I don't know what the full story is, but that was the gist of it. And so we walked. And I thought that was a little silly, because while I agree, with the thinking behind it, I think 99% of the time, the clients aren't going to be selling this stuff for AI. From what I understand, voices.com has been selling it to AI companies forever. But a general client is not going to. But a lot of general clients, their legal departments are these huge, crazy friggin' juggernauts, and they don't change anything. Right. And if they have to make the slightest little change on something, now they got to pay their dang lawyers a couple $100 an hour or whatever to go over it. And I know this because we sign contracts all day and we try to redline something that we think is innocuous, and it is innocuous, or it was a typo, or it doesn't apply because it has to do with print or whatever. Right. And we get this massive brick wall. We're not changing any of this stuff because now it's got to go all the way through legal, and it's going to be a whole thing, and it's going to change the contract for the on-camera people, blah, 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 whatever. And that's why they're not going to add, a lot of clients aren't going to add that stuff, not because they can sell it. Right. But also, I don't think there's a shortage of people that are looking to train these things. That's what they need more of, is just input. They need more VO to train these things, and there's no shortage of people, and soon enough they're just going to be crawling the web. Right. They're the AI image generators are amazing. They're absolutely incredible. People are playing with these things, and they're incredible because they've scoured every image there is. The bots go out in the world and they scan these images. And then they're able to, stick it back together and spit it out in such a way that it looks like an image. So once the bots are out there and they're crawling, every YouTube video or whatever the hell it is, there's no shortage of, humans speaking. They're going to use that as input, and there's no stopping our robot overlords at that point. So as far as trying to put the brakes on the technology because we don't like it, that's. Blockbuster couldn't stop Netflix. Like, it's just not going to, it's going to happen. There's people that have money in it. They have zillions of dollars in it, massive companies with zillions of dollars. Right. And for somebody to be like, but this might hurt my job. Like, nobody cares.
Everyone's job is hurting. Everyone's job is hurting or will hurt at some point.
But nobody cares if it's not their job. And and you think, well, like, that's terrible. But like, you don't care. I don't care. Like, when they come out, like somebody comes out and they're like, we've got the new automated roof putter on or whatever. Right. And you'd be like, automated roof putter on her. Like, yes, it used to cost like $100,000 to, fix your roof, and and it sucks and whatever. And now we can do it for like $20,000 and it's perfect. There's no leaks and there's no problems and whatever. You'd be like, that's awesome. And then there'd be all these people like, I'm a roofer, and they're freaking out and crying and whatever. And you would just be like, technology, what, like, shit happens, the march of progress. What are you going to do? Like, you know what I mean? If it's not your industry, you're not going to, stop it. Right. And I mean, there's just so much money in it. So, what are you going to do? I don't know.
I think, and this is something that I think everyone needs to diversify their talent portfolio. Nobody lives off just one thing. Like, nobody lives off just voice acting. So I also do writing, stand-up comedy, and acting. And I guess the only advice that I could give for that kind of inevitability is to make sure you're not just, putting all your eggs in one basket because something.
Well, there's zillions of people that only do voiceover. I mean, that's what they do for a living. They're voiceover actors. Yeah. But they should at least diversify with, what I mean, within there. Yeah. There is, even you and I had a bit of a difference of opinion on what we think AI is going to eat first. You're saying, well, I think it's going to come for the big stuff. I'm saying I think it's going to come from the small stuff. Once we have a clear idea of what dominoes are falling, right? Maybe that's not what you focus on so much, and you try to get into, another area or whatever. Right. But just and you can never, prognosticating is like, so, is so difficult. But we were talking about, even just 6 months ago, and everyone's saying, well, years from now when this stuff comes out. And now it's like, oh, well, tomorrow when it comes out. And then it's like, it's out, it's there. It's like, it's done. It's
on your phone.
It's already out there. And it's like, the time is nigh, the end is here. It's just a matter of, of widespread implementation. Right. So we'll get a better idea of, where it's going to be implemented soon. And then, maybe, it's I don't know. Somebody else had asked me, what do you recommend to talent? And dental school. I don't know what to tell you.
That's fair. I guess now that the AI troops are already coming in, we have to wait until we can like see it to know how to put up our defenses. And at this point, it's kind of like, well, they're gonna be here. We just
there's like crappy YouTube videos that are using it.
Yes.
And TikTok and all that kind of stuff is
my top 10 video game
talent, but it's still kind of it's niche. But again, they're at the point now where they're showing folks how great it is, and they're looking to get paid. Everybody invested all their money, and now those investors are going to want their money back. So next phase, which is coming like now, is implementation. So we'll see. We'll see what gets hit the hardest first.
Okay. When we'll definitely do before the robot overlords kick down our doors, we'll do another interview and to be like, say who told you so and that kind of thing.
From under a bridge next year.
In a bunker,
like
eating an MRE.
Well, that was a trip.
You remember the days when humans were the superior race? Wow, that was nice. Just watch an explosion through a window as the shockwave comes in. Well, it looks like I got 5 more minutes of this interview. Podcasting to no one. So it looks like we're almost out of time. I would like to cover one last thing on an agent basis. And just kind of something that would be really helpful for people. Again, since we're talking about transitioning, a lot of this has been transition, moving from more the indie side to move into more the professional side. A lot of people are trying to submit to agents. Agents like yourself. What's some things, 5 things that you hate? It doesn't have to be 5 things, but some things that you hate seeing when people submit, and some things that you really love, like really make your day.
I got thousands of things that I hate. Basically, every or most anyway, agencies will, if you do a little bit of digging around, you'll find out how they want you to submit. We get phone calls all the time, and it's always the same, phone. Like, obviously they're on the website. That's where they got the phone number, and they're like, are you taking on talent? How do I submit? Hit the contact button. Like, there's a button right there, and it says this is where you submit. And if the agency has set up a thing and it says submit here, it's because that's what they want you to do. That's how they want to funnel people in. We have a submission thing because we have very specific things that we are looking for, and they're specific to us that other agencies may not be interested in. We, for example, are not overly concerned about where you live. We're much more concerned about what your studio is like, because most of the stuff that we do is remote. We're working with remote actors all over the world. There are some coastal agencies. They're more interested in, that you live within their region and that you can get to, voice tracks or whatever. That's, so that's going to be different. There are some agencies that are, really listening to everybody, and they're looking for that next up and coming voice, that diamond in the rough, and that kid,
unique sound.
Yeah, exactly. And they want to scoop them up before anybody else does. And they can have them because I don't stock the pond. Like, I'm not interested in that. I got clients that I've been kissing their ass for 20 years, and I'm not sticking some kid in a session there who has no idea what's going on because, they just got here.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. It's nothing against folks being green, but I'm not interested. I don't want that. So, we're interested in what you've been doing, how long you've been around, what you've done already, your professional credentials, because we only rep pros. I'm not like, I don't want to, come on, kid, I'll show you, I'll
come on, I'll show you the ropes. You're going to be a star someday. Like,
there's folks that do it. There's agents that do it. And I understand,
if that's
where they're coming from, that's how they run their business. And sure, you get somebody who's, really unique and fresh and whatever. And, that does make sense if you want to put that kind of time in, and I'm not putting that kind of time in. So, So again, this stuff that we want is specific to us, and the stuff that other agents want is going to be specific to them. So find out how they want submissions. And if you can't find a button, or you can't find a link, or you can't find a form, then find the right email address and ask them nicely where to submit, and do that. That's it. Don't, dear sir or madam, I believe that I would make a wonderful addition to your agency because blah, blah, blah. We get a million of those. Yes. It is 115. We've probably gotten about 10 submissions today. And just by averages, probably 5 of them were through the form, that we want.
Right. So, okay. So probably the biggest thing would be do your research and contact appropriately.
Yeah. I mean, that's it's number one. Number one is trying to figure out if you're ready for an agent.
Yeah.
Most of the people we're submitting are not.
Yes.
They don't understand what an agent is.
Yeah.
They just started. They have no credits. A lot of them, we get people who yell at us like, we don't have a place to just upload your demos. We just want a link to your website.
Right.
And then we click around your website. Like, that makes sense. Now we go there and look around and see your about me and all that jazz, and all your demos all in one place and whatever. It's just, much easier that way. And they're like, well, I don't have a website. You may not be ready for an agent then, or here's my way. Like, if your website starts with voice123./ you're not ready.
That's not your website.
For an agent. That's not how you do it. So, don't waste their time, and don't waste your time, and then find out the right way to do it, the way that they want you to submit, and then do it that way.
I mean, that also speaks volumes to your ability to read carefully over something and follow instructions, which is the majority of the contact between a talent and an agent.
Well, it's following direction, Yeah. I mean, if you can't follow those directions, how do I expect you, to follow direction in the booth?
To submit to the people that I'm sending you auditions to, and not make both of us look like idiots.
That's a thing. Again, I have nothing against newbies, man. But, we got clients that are used to a certain caliber of talent.
Exactly.
And if they say, oh, hey, we, heard this guy's audition, or we heard this, heard their demos, we're going to give them a shot. And then they go in there and, they're, hey, can we get an ABC? And they're like, a what?
Yes.
Now they're going to come back and kill me. And again, you lose a job, it's not the end of the world. You lose a client, that's a big deal. And I'm not putting any, I'm not jeopardizing our relationship with any of our clients, just to give some kid a shot. That's not my problem.
Yeah. That's fair. That's actually really, really good points. I would imagine there's lots of people that submit inappropriately and totally
probably about half.
About half.
A little less than that. I don't know the exact average, but we get, and I get it. It's way easier. I'm sure there's probably lists for sale or some nonsense or whatever. But it's just much easier, to get a whole thing or whatever. I mean, sometimes they don't even be CC. It's just CC, us and 400 other agencies.
Yeah.
And then it's click on this Google Drive link. Yeah, sure. You click.
Yeah, sure. Gone.
We about once a year now. We used to get them all the time, and now it's once a year because it's now it's finding some dusty relic. Somebody will send a thumb drive in the mail. They'll send it, it's a headshot. We get so many headshots. Why?
Yes.
That's lovely, but I don't care what you look like.
Yeah.
But we'll get a thumb drive in the mail. You couldn't possibly pay me enough to put this on any computer that we are on. I don't know you, man. I'm not putting you on that thumb drive. Let's put this in. What is this?
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah. Also the headshot thing, that is one thing that I've noticed is it's hit or some agencies yes, some agencies no.
I like headshots. I love putting headshots on our site. I like seeing them. Some talent don't do it for very specific reasons. They're like, I don't sound anything like I look like, or I'm shy, or I'm hideously deformed, or whatever. I totally fine. I like them because I think it's nice to personalize, people or whatever. So if talent have them, or if I could talk them into it, we'll put a picture up. But if you're submitting by mail and you've got your glossy whatever, You know, and it's those folks too will do that, and then it's all their other shit is stapled to the back too. You know, all their theater stuff. And I don't care about all your theater stuff. As a matter of fact, I don't want you to be in the theater because you're going to go on freaking tour and be gone for 3 months, and now I can't make money.
Right.
Off you. You know,
and I need you to be at that
about your underwater basket weaving classes. I don't want you to do. I want you to be a full-time voiceover talent who lives, eats, and breathes voiceover, and that's all you do is voiceover, and all you care about is voiceover, and you're available 24 hours a day if I need you to do voiceover. So if you're, you know, presenting yourself otherwise, none of that is helping. It's not helping you.
Right. Don't submit something that says skills ventriloquism. What's a voice actor need with that?
It's a lot. Believe me, we've seen that. It's a lot of, you know.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah, lots of folks want to tell me about all their time in radio. That doesn't help. Radio people, for the most part, make shitty voiceover talent. Like that doesn't help. I still work in radio. That really doesn't help. What are you gone all morning for the wacky morning zoo show that you have for a couple hours?
What's really funny
that's not a
is
selling point to me.
When I get a lot of people email me for advice, and it's like guys who are like in like their 60s, and they're like, I used to do radio and I just can't make it in voiceover anymore. And I'm like, okay.
I sound like such a broken record. I always say the same thing, but I feel bad. Like, you know how everything is you know, conversational. You got to be conversational. You got to be conversational. If you got people that have been doing radio for like 20 years, and every time you stick a microphone in their face, you go, and welcome back. Here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Blah, 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 and they're puking all over the place.
Yeah.
And now you tell them, okay, here's a microphone in front of your face, but don't do any of that stuff that you've been doing your whole life. Most people can't just be like, click and turn that off.
They just like seize up and they start foaming at the mouth.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, you get this kind of voice, like muscle memory stuff.
Yes.
Me personally, I've been doing telephony for 130 years. I started the day after they invented the telephone. I started doing telephony voiceover stuff. Like once a week, I go in the booth.
Mr. Bell, do you need any phone messaging system for your freshly invented phone?
Ring, and then you would hear me. So like once a week I'll go in and I do this stuff, and then usually like my wife is around or whatever, and so she'll like, you know, sometimes she's editing or we're listening back or whatever, and she'll be like, oh, there was this, that. I have no recollection of anything that I said. Like I went into because I've been doing it for so long, I go into the booth and then I say the words like a talking friggin' monkey, and then I walk out of the booth. And then that's it. And she'll be like, well, oh, that was like a weird thing. I have no idea what I just said. I don't know what the company was for. I don't know, whatever. You're reading for the American Nazi Party. What? I have no idea. Like, I don't know. Because it's just automatic. You just automatic, because it's like that stuff doesn't require, you know what I mean? It's like that type of, you know, telephony stuff.
Right.
So you just go on automatic, and that's what a lot of, you know, radio folks did. I think they go on a lot of folks do that. A lot of talent. Yeah. There's a lot of talent that I know that you know, have gotten to the point where they're honest with me and they're honest with clients, and they're like, this is what I do. I do this. This is what I sound like. And they're the same way. They have their sound, they have their thing, and they're like, don't try to get me to character it up or whatever. Like, yeah, I'll try to be happy or sad or whatever, but you're not going to get a whole lot out of me because this is, you know, this is what I sound like.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's not a deal breaker. Don LaFontaine didn't do like 80 different voices. You know, he didn't have 20 demos, and he did all right. You know, you don't have to do everything in the world, but I think, you know, this is neither here nor there. But
you just have to do
a lot of time. I think you get locked in, and then you could just do it. You just automatically do it.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to do everything. You just have to do at least one thing.
Do what you do well.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you had asked a question a year and a half ago. What is it? How to submit? Yes, just find the button. Find the button and clicky the button.
Find the button, read the instructions, submit appropriately, and if you're not sure if you're ready, you're probably not ready. Yeah, and if you are, here's another thing that I see all the time. And every time I see it, I'm always shaking my head like, you dumb dope. They like to bury the lead. Like we used to get these long, gigantic emails that it was like, I'm not reading this nonsense, you know? Right. Where it was just like too much
whatever. And then a lot of fluff and like, whatever, my puppies and what shut up, man. But you'll get all this like blah, 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 whatever. And then like paragraph 3, and it's like, well, I just voiced for Coca-Cola and McDonald's, and put that at the top.
Lead like with that.
Like that.
Front load your good shit.
Look, and I've said this a million times before too, so I apologize if anybody has heard me before. If you've heard me before, you're probably not watching this.
It's the best hits. It's the greatest hits.
I love voiceover. I love the art form. I love the industry. I love everything about it. I do it. My wife does it. My kids do it. Everything about us is voiceover, voiceover, voiceover. But I do not do this for my health, man. I am in it to make $1.01. And if I am going to work with you, that is the reason that I am going to work with you. You could be super duper nice. I know lots of nice people who are not very good voiceover talent, and I don't like beg to work with them. Conversely, there's a lot of talent who I know are amazing, and we're just like, no, because we got folks that sound like that, or sometimes they're just jerk offs, and I'm like, I don't want to work with these people. But if I am going to, put you in the maybe pile, or you're going to get, kind of move down this like internal machinery that we have to maybe ultimately get an email where we go, yeah, you might be a good fit.
Right.
It's because we think this is, we're going to make some money here. Not because like, well, this will be fun. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind when you're sending anything to your agent that, one, they're busy. They're super freaking busy.
Yes.
And two, they want to know that you are an earner. They don't care about your puppies. They don't care about your hobbies. They don't care about your other shit.
Right.
They want to make a few bucks off of you, together with you. It's a partnership.
Yes.
So it's, it's not like, we're looking to, take advantage of you, but it's not going to help either one of us if we don't think, that both of us are going to start making money. So keep that in mind. This is a business transaction. Down the road, we get to know each other and hang out and have a beer and whatever. But if it's your first time that you're contacting them, keep that in mind. This is you're looking to start a professional relationship with somebody. So like, starting off with like, yo, dude, check my 1, 2, 3 profile.
Right.
It's not going to help.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I've learned to keep it short and sweet and simple as well. And I would definitely confirm that.
I've done XYZ. I'm an earner. Please take a listen. And then we go to your demos, and that's that.
Exactly.
And then your demos have to be the best things on earth.
Yeah. And they have to wow you. All right. Well, good. Speaking of you being very busy, and I know that you are, I think this is going to conclude the interview. I'm sure you and I could talk for, many more hours.
It's that's something that's wrong with us. None of us ever shut up. Talky folks.
It's a disease.
For
it really is a disease.
I don't apologize anymore. I'm a voiceover. I talk a lot, just so you know. If you got
just wear a shirt, like just deal with it. If you need to leave, just walk away. It's fine. You wouldn't be the first.
I gotta hand people like one of those like wrap it up, boxes where things just start.
They start playing like the Oscar like walk off stage
play
music.
Me off, man, because otherwise I don't shut up.
That's awesome. That's fun. But yeah, we should absolutely do this again. I'm sure you have tons more great insight, tons more great information. I would love to do this again. Thank you again so much for taking a huge chunk out of your busy day to talk to us. This was awesome. Again, all of your links will be in the description, as well as the the agency for one.
Well, yeah.
I mean, duh. And then probably your YouTube channel as well. Even though you're not super active on there, there is stuff that I'm sure the people watching haven't heard anyone say, especially from the mouths of an agent. And I'm sure will definitely help them out. And then, well, as the link for the rate sheet that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I didn't know if I still had that URL up, but I did. But otherwise, make sure you go to it is, if you go to that, what was it, VO rate card? If you go there on there, the friggin' Inception here, there's a link to the GBAA card too. Because I think their URL is some long, nonsense thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you get like a twofer. You'll get like our kind of dumbed down.
Simplified version.
Simplified. That sounds much better.
Than stupid person version.
stupid, dirty,
dirty little morons.
Yeah, simplified version. And then there, you know, to get kind of more in depth, you go to theirs, which is like has everything under the sun. Cool. Yeah, that'll give you kind of a better idea. And I think a lot of the stuff is really for certain folks will be, you know, an eye opener.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Because information and education it's so helpful. It helps weed out any, you know, ignorance and further mistakes.
You can't get all your information on Facebook, kids, because everybody there is the same as you. It's a bunch of other folks that have no idea what they're talking about. That's why they're there on Facebook talking about voiceover all day. You know, if you seek out the real deal, real information from real folks that have, you know, been here for a few days. Yeah. And you're going to save yourself a lot of time instead of just, you know, spinning your wheels. Yeah. That type of stuff, especially in the beginning, it's like, you know, it's like a new relationship. It's all like new and exciting and wonderful. And so I get it. Like I get the impetus to just hang out on social media and start talking to folks because there's so much information. And the impetus to like go shopping, you know, like buy like shiny new stuff and cables and like that's so, you know, nothing like that new foam smell. All of that, like I get it.
Fresh microphone.
Yeah. And like I still love gear, you know, but people confuse spinning their wheels with work. That's like, yes, learning things and understanding things and gaining more knowledge, that is work. Like I'll give you that. But most of the time, especially the time that's spent on social media, that you're not really working. Right. You're busy. You know, you're doing things and you're talking about voiceover and like everything is, you know, it seems to the untrained eye, and I think to most people that they're actually work, but it's like work adjacent. It's not. It's not actually working. It's a lot of folks that are trying for some reason that I won't probably never understand. They're trying to impress other voiceover actors. It's like the number one thing on the list of a lot of voiceover people, even people that have been like doing this forever. Like they're, you know, they do it and they just can't wait to tell all the other actors about the thing they did. And they're like, I just did this commercial. Of course, that's your job, you dick. Yes, you're supposed to.
We're not the people you need to be impressing. Future clients, more clients. That's who you should need to be impressing.
I mean, I understand, you know, like if you're posting that stuff for client, like of course you want to build up your social media presence, whatever. But there's a lot of folks that they just spend countless hours spinning their wheels, you know, kind of seeming busy and spending too much time, you know, fraternizing. Seek out the real information, the real deal, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble. And then the rest of the time you can get to friggin' work.
Yeah, and that's great. That's great words to end on right there. That's the moral of the story. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this. This was an absolute pleasure. I totally want to do this again.
You know my email.
Yeah, of course. And I get a few of those a week, which is always a delight. So again, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope you stay busy because as my agent, that's exactly what I want.
So thank you.
Thank you. You have a good night.